Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now for the next Quranic letter, we are going through some imagery here. Now I just want you to imagine holding something heavy. And in that experience, when the weight is real, you really feel the pressure. Now in that carrying, yes, the pressure is there, but instead of collapsing, you have the strength to carry it on. I just want you to imagine that feeling, whether you have experienced, but if you have not experienced, try and imagine it, because that experience or imagery is going to help us in our next Quranic letter, and it is called Dod. Dod. This letter is so unique to the Arabic language. That's why the Arabic language is known as Lughatul Dod. Okay, it's the language of Dod. And it is very, very special in terms of its articulation. And it's only available in the Arabic language. Now, with that feeling of heaviness, but even if it's heavy, you still have to withstand the pressure and carry it on. So, in pronouncing this letter, why does it feel so different from almost every other sound? And bear in mind, this is part of the tongue letter, Z. So now, inshallah, let us explore. Let's do it like how we have been doing before by first looking at the makharij. Where does the letter Dod come from? Dod is born or Dod is produced from, listen carefully, the side of the tongue. Either side of the tongue, whether left or right. But we just only need to use one side of the tongue. And how is it acting? It is pressing against the upper molars. I think you can see in languages, this is something which is very unusual. Only using one side of the tongue and it presses on the molars. That's why it's so unique to the ancient Arabic language, or just Arabic language as a whole. Because most languages always focus on the tongue and especially the tip of the tongue. Okay? Now, as difficult as it is, let us see that we are trying to make sure that we carry this weight, which I introduced as being heavy, on the side of the mouth. Okay? Now, when you do it and pronounce the word Dod, Dod, you notice that for us who are not ancient Arabs, it's not an easy sound. It requires a lot and a lot of effort. And you just have to not just apply that effort anyhow, you have to control that effort to produce the right pressure as you articulate the sound. Now, to further decipher, we go to the sifa. Let us just imagine Dod as a person and its personality. So the sifa, we're going to look at Dod and its personality. Now, Dod, its personality, it's heavy. It's a tongue letter, but it's heavy. So you don't need to, those with little effort, this is going to have a very big problem with you. It's also strong, it is also deep, and it is compressed. The tongue being pressed against the upper molars, there is pressure. Okay? So when you pronounce it correctly, you will realize that it's not light at all. Okay? You don't need to use a lot of air, and as it's not easy to carry around, you don't just say it casually, okay? Because you are carrying a weight with control and with precision. So this is the characteristic of Dod. So Dod, when you articulate it, you have to know that it feels heavy and it applies a lot of pressure. You try and say with the diacritics, da, di, do. You see, you feel that pressure. And remember, this Arabic language which we study, it's called Lughatul Dod. Why? Because it has a Dod which is specifically found in the Arabic language. No any other language has this Dod, okay? And it is not as heavy, as impactful as the letter Qaf because it comes from here. But this, concerning the tongue, the pressure happens in the side of the tongue. You're just controlling the weight on one side, okay? You just have to learn how to practice and precisely calibrate the load in pronouncing either this side of the tongue or this side of the tongue. Anyone can do. So as you are carrying a heavy load, you just have that reflection that as you pronounce this word, it is talking about carrying responsibility. But before I go, I can only just give an example of a Quranic word which uses this word bad. In Surah Al-Fatiha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the people who are called al-dallin, yani those who have gone astray. That is the final word which we find in Surah Al-Fatiha. You can never miss it. Yani the heaviness there, okay? Part of it when you listen, wal-dallin, it is a heavy reality that there are those people who are astray. That's a very heavy reality. It's nothing which is soft. So it being a heavy reality, it carries a lot of serious warning. Yani, the heaviness of the bod shows the heaviness of the seriousity of the message. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as we experience the sounds of the Quran, we are supposed to really feel the weight of the words which are used in the Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.